I've traveled. Europe, South America. I haven't been to Asia yet, so I can't speak on that. But just from the Western countries that I've been to, I think New York City is the best city in the world. I think, although it has its many faults, don't get me wrong, it has its many faults, right? Crime, homelessness, the streets are dirty sometimes, like whatever you want to call it. That, like, although those are a part of the city, I feel like when it comes to meeting people when you're young, in your early 20s, meeting people when you're young, getting really good work experience. The food there is unbelievable. The nightlife there is unbelievable. And just what you can do, not only in Manhattan, but in Brooklyn, if you go north of the Bronx, if you want to go into New Jersey, Jersey City, those areas, Queens is remarkable. Like, just the culture in Queens is remarkable. But I live in South Florida now, and I felt like I needed to get back here in order to kind of start the business that I started and just kind of be closer to my network that I had just built growing up here, which is why I came back. But I still, like I said, I'll say it forever. I think New York City is the best city in the world, and I think South Florida is absolutely amazing. I would recommend, if you're 21, 22, 23 years old, you just graduated college, move to New York City and have a ball. Like, I know it's expensive. I know all of that stuff. I know. But take your early years. You can make your money back. You can live at home as long as you want, move back to your hometown whenever you want. But when you're young in your 20s, I would move to New York City in a heartbeat. It's absolutely spectacular.
Yeah. So what's the draw? Because a lot of people from New York, they do end up coming down here to kind of the South Florida. So you've had that perspective of having lived in the wild with those people.
Yeah.
And talked to them a little bit.
100%.
For them, what's the appeal of South Florida? Because I don't really see people from New York, the Northeast, like consistently going as a group to like other parts of the country. Well, maybe Texas, but really it's like South Florida is kind of the stereotype. So.
Yeah, I would say that, first of all, I think your friends, especially when you get older, people are moving to South Florida in retirement. Your friends are a big thing, right? Like, you want to be around your friends. And when you're in New York, you normally know people who have a house in South Florida, or know an uncle or an aunt or a grandmother or someone like that lives in South Florida. So I think networking who people obviously have been coming here for years. So people know other people who have residences in South Florida. So that's a big draw, first off. Second off, I would say the weather. Like in New York, they just got a blizzard like 2 weeks ago in New York City. It was a cold and snowy winter this year, so the weather's another thing. And then the third thing I would obviously say is the taxes. Like when you live in New York City, or when you live in Connecticut, or when you live in even upstate New York, or Westchester County, or wherever you want to live, New Jersey, you're paying state income tax. And if you live in New York City, you're paying city tax. So you're dealing with if you're making, a median income, your income is just, your dollars go a lot further down here. I mean, they have traditionally gone a lot further down here. I think now cost of living here has gone up a little bit, but I would just say in general, your dollar goes further down here. So that's definitely an appeal.
Yeah, and there's definitely, there's going to be an element of getting nickel and dimed everywhere, but at least in Florida, like, there's a really conscious effort to like keep taxes and a lot of those expenses like as low as you can, because a lot of people in New York will tell you that'll eat you alive. And the difference is you can't just not pay them or make a lifestyle change and just decide, hey, I'm not going to eat out as much. Like, you can't say, well, I'm just going to pay less taxes. Like, that's not how that works.
Yeah, and especially in with the way that the tax structure is set up. The tax structure is designed to tax people who are high earners, let's just say. So these are people who maybe work at an investment bank, right? Or people who work at like a high-end real estate investment company. You know, these are the guys who are getting issued W-2s. So they're filing W-2 income, but they're also making $1 million plus a year, right? So, you know, when you're getting issued W-2 income, you're getting hit for all the taxes. Like all the taxes you're getting hit with, as opposed to if you were to start a business, you know, the tax laws are a little bit more forgiving for people who own businesses. So it makes things a little bit easier to skate by. It kind of makes things a little bit easier to manage when you do run your own business, but you kind of face the inevitable challenge of actually having a successful business, which, you know, is extremely hard to do. So, especially in New York City. So that's definitely like a huge thing too. I just think the tax system, especially up there, is really geared towards those people who, you know, maybe don't own their own business, but they make a very high salary. So I think that's like a distinction too that has to be made.
Gotcha.
From a tax perspective.
Yeah, no, that 100% makes sense.
Yeah.
So, you know, folks are moving down here then. They're kind of settling in. We're seeing, you know, kind of an explosion in the population. And with that, like a lot of the opportunities, you know, from, I feel like what you've seen in years past in this area as well. Have you seen that like starting to have an impact on the character and the nature of kind of the area and specific towns themselves? Or is it just, I don't know, is it just West Palm Beach or Jupiter just with more people, or is the character of the town itself changing?
I wouldn't say, you know, it's changing dramatically, you know. I think that people move to South Florida a lot of the times for political reasons as well. However you may lean, in South Florida, like we're just a red state, we're a conservative state, and a lot of people from up north sometimes love those values. Other people don't like those values, but they're here for the tax incentives and they're here for the weather, for example, right?
Right.
And I think although politics can get really hairy, I think it's definitely a factor of why people move here, is because of that political atmosphere, and that really plays into the culture as well. You know, like you have people who are just a little bit more, they have a little bit more conservative values. So that kind of plays into like the culture of South Florida as well. As I think that, you know, although Palm Beach County notoriously, you know, goes blue, I still think you have a really good mix of people who kind of balance the equation out on both sides, where you get a good mix of both sides of, you know, the political aisle. It's not, you know, where you live in a Portland, Oregon, for example, and, you know, it's all one side. It's kind of a real mix of both, is what you find. Yeah,
which, I mean, something really to be said for that, because it does kind of keep politicians and the statesmen a little bit more honest. If there's a little bit more of a balance of, you know, kind of back and forth there.
Yeah, I mean, you'd think so, right? But
yeah, you would think so.
You'd think so. You'd think so, but, you know, that's a different conversation for a different day, I guess.
Yeah, I'll get a politician on here sometime. We'll chat then.
Yeah, bring me on. I'd love to ask some questions.
Oh, absolutely. So we're going to take just a little bit of a break here real quick.
Okay.
For those of you who have been watching for a bit, you do know that I have a relocation guide for those of you considering making the move down here to South Florida. If that's something you'd like to get your hands on, do make sure you just go to the website. Link for that is in the description section down below. Just scroll down, put your information in there, put Florida Relocation Guide so I know what to send you, and we'll get that over to you. But yeah, let's go and finish up today's interview, talking a little bit more specifically about how Florida houses and construction are a little bit different than some other places. Like, what are some demands you have on Florida houses that you just don't have in other places?
The main thing that I would say, like for Florida construction and construction up north, at least from from a larger scale, I guess, is the quality of the contractors and the quality of, as a general contractor myself, the quality of subcontractors. In the city, in New York, up north, even in Toronto, Boston, just up north primarily, the unions are so dominant for whatever trade you're looking at, whether it's block, whether it's, electrical work, plumbing work, whatever it is, the trades are so dominant. So you kind of have a real pipeline of skilled American workers who are being paid their fair wage that want to do this work, and they want to make a living, and they want to, become a master in their trade.